And, da-da-da, and we are live. So you may be watching on video. Hey, what's happening? What's happening? Goodness to you. It's Sporty King. And you know I say goodness because I don't know whether you're watching morning, afternoon, or evening. But isn't it great to have good in front of your salutation? Hey, welcome to Glue Wednesday. I'm on 2 minutes early. Excuse me, but we have less than 2 minutes to go for our message today. But I like to get on and give the everybody a chance to close out what they're doing and get comfortable in their seats if they're going to watch it live and get some comments and get some shout outs. Man, we are just learning to have a good time. And this is my new format. As some of you know, I told you I'm going to be adjusting to how I post. So on Wednesdays, I'll do live on Facebook and then post it to LinkedIn and YouTube. And on Fridays, I'll do live on LinkedIn, post it to Facebook and YouTube. And then Mondays, it'll be a video anyway. I'll just post it on all three. Ooh, must be a fourth one coming up, but I'll post it on all three mediums. But we've got less than a minute to go for today's message, and I'm looking forward to delivering it. So come on in. Let me know where you're watching from. Even if you're watching a video, put in where you're streaming in from. Always good to see where people are coming from and get a chance to see, maybe see somebody you hadn't heard from in a while, and you say, "Oh my God, I didn't know they were on." And then you never know. I've had people connect because they saw somebody else connected. So hey, don't we need to be more connected in this world? So just think about some of those things. But come on in, let me know. We got less than 10 seconds for today's message, it looks like, and we're going to get ready to roll. So let me get these things out of the way, and let me get over here and say it's boom, 1:00 Eastern here, and here we go. So welcome to Glue Wednesday. I named it Glue Wednesday because so often we hear people call Wednesday Hump Day. Well, I say that goes partially back to old school rules where we said you only worked the week, which was considered Monday to Friday, or the weekend, which was just Saturday and Sunday. We didn't have the term flex time, though there's always been flex time because the hospitality industry, public transportation, and hospitality industry, hotels, restaurants, they've always worked throughout the weekends, as well as public transportation and a lot of different things. So it's not everybody was working the Monday to Friday. Some people may work, Tuesday to Saturday, and just had Sunday and Monday off. So you never know. Either way, I decided to take the word hump and give it a little upgrade. And I changed it to the fact that Wednesday is not hump day. It's not the middle of a 5-day work week. It's the middle of a 7-day week, regardless of when you work. So Wednesday is the day that keeps the beginning and the weekend together. So it is the glue. And that's what puts me in a wonderful, prayerful pose that I always love. And that's why I decided to call it Glue Wednesday, because it's not the need to hump, but we have to find ways to keep it together. And then what we do is we decide to let glue stands for GLUE. Oops, let's go the other way. And let's make that God's love undoes everything. Not that God's love will tear things apart, but that which has been torn apart, God's love will pull it back together. So Glue Wednesday is that online sharing that I bring to you. And today I'm going to be beginning my quick love series, where each of the messages will focus on one of the letters of the broadcast series, the love series. Today's broadcast was an open call for co-authors to choose one letter as the fuel for my message, but I made a mistake and I sent out the request to have them choosing 2 letters. But let me tell you where love comes from before I get into that. First of all, love is in my book of affirmations. Now, affirmations are words that bring more than an acronym to the word. They bring meaning to it and an affirmation. So LOVE, let ourselves value everyone. You ever heard that saying, God didn't make no junk, right? So everyone has value. But even as we get closer to Halloween, here's a subtitle for that. Some of those designs will fool you, disguises will fool you, but everyone has value, but you just don't know what it is sometimes. I did a poem a few weeks ago, but I read it on Gift Friday, but I've had it for years, and it's called "My Rainbow Is Real," and it talks about how what would life be like if we could live backwards, like the movie Benjamin Buttons. If we could live from the end backwards and see all the knuckleheads, liars, and cheats, how much value they had to our lives. So I'm not saying we have to, give in and, just be all snuggled up with them. Go on, you're going to still have your tantrums and get sick of people and cut them loose and whatever. But always in your heart, remember that there is some value to them as a person. Maybe they don't have value in your life. Maybe they don't get to stay in your life, but they do have value in God's eyes and why God made them. Even if you're a student of the Bible like I am, you'll see that it says, God brought someone up, even as someone who was in God's good grace. God purposely brought someone to life when someone was born who would end up tearing that person down. So so this is not really in my script. That's also why I use the script to keep me on point. But a lot of times people say, "Oh, the devil is busy." I say, "Yeah, but you know what? God is busier." Okay. And so you got to recognize that the devil can do nothing without God's permission. And so it's not always the devil who's putting the bad things in your life. Sometimes it's God putting it there to just kind of give you a wake-up call. But let's move on with today's message, okay? Because this week we've got 7 co-authors who submitted words this week, both beginning with the letters O and the letter L, because I made a mistake, as I mentioned earlier. When I sent the post out via email, I said that the letter was L, but last week on the broadcast, I said that the letter was O. Wonderfully, Ramona Hopkins, who is my main editor, I call her that, made me aware of this and sent a word for each letter. While I had 2 other co-authors who just sent words from L because they were in the email. So I decided to just go on and deliver the combo of O and L. So let me know where you're viewing in from, okay? So, hey, what's going on, Lorenzo? Oh, there's an L word, Lorenzo, okay? But so I decided to make the L and the O the words for today. And so thanks to, and look at the timing, my co-authors, Lorenzo Clemons, who gave us Obfuscated, Daphne Francis gave us Optimum, Jose Valencia, that's Haas, gave us Outstanding. Rogercarole Rogers gave us Omnipotent. Ramona, like I said, my editor, gave us Observant and Lambent. Cassandra Lee gave us Ladder, and Mary Perrie gave us Longevity. So that's why we've got the O and the L going on, all right? But 2 of the words here that listed are probably not in your everyday vocabulary are obfuscate and lambent. Obfuscate, even though he said obfuscated, but obfuscate is a verb, and it means to render obscure, unclear, or unintelligible. Used in a sentence, the spelling changes will deform some familiar words and obfuscate their etymological origins. It also means to bewilder someone. It is more likely to obfuscate people than enlighten them. Lambent, which is an adjective, is of light or fire, glowing, gleaming, or flickering with a soft radiance, the magical lambent light of the north. Okay, so let me know where you're viewing in from, because I see we got another viewer on here with Lorenzo. So those could be words that you can add into your vocabulary and find ways to add them in. But I'm going to start with something I often say on any of my live broadcasts, and that is bewildered is a goal of some. Look at Lorenzo. Yeah, some people want to keep you bewildered, okay? Yeah, they don't want to let you know the truth. And see, now this goes with what I'm just getting ready to say. Let me finish saying it and come right back to you, Lorenzo. I do not rehearse the broadcast with anyone before coming on. And so it's so cool that what Lorenzo just said is going to end up being a part of the broadcast. But you'll see why I wanted to make that point clear. And I enjoy the synchronicity of how our thoughts feed into one another. And of course, we see it as the will of God. But that being said, on Monday this week, October 28th, I posted this meme. Excuse me. I posted this meme with a quote from a book published this year by one of the young guys I coached in community league basketball in the 90s. And this was the meme. The battle of our hearts is fought on the pages of our calendars. It is time to prioritize our schedule because God wants to spend more time with you. That was Dan Cyprian from his book, Jesus Over Everything. And I've mentioned to you that I start my day by reading my annual scriptural themes, right? What I haven't told you is that I regularly read something positive after my morning meditation. So Dan's book is what I've been reading for the last few weeks. And here's the commentary. I had it there, but I took it back off. What I added to the meme, I posted, it is kind of cool. Let me get you out of the way there, Lorenzo. It is kind of cool starting my day reading the words from a book published by one of my former basketball players. Of course, he would say, I'm not former, I can still play. But hey, I just decided to not call him one of the kids I used to coach. And just as I've decided to enjoy him answering the calling upon his life to spend the time and see the battle for what it is, a choice. You can find SIP Ministries' book on Amazon, also in Kindle format. Start and continue your day making the faith choices that start and continue your day. So I share this with you now because I want to set up today's message, which uses 1 John 2 and 6 as a guiding scripture. And that is, whoever claims to live in him must live as Jesus did. And so my message today is, be the picture. Be the picture. And hey to you, Rogercarole, also, all right? But you see, the following day after I posted that meme on Monday, on Tuesday, I began reading my final reading of Dan's book. And today's guiding scripture was the heading actually from Dan inserted into this short excerpt of a chapter, which I will now read to you from his book. Yet I'm not just going to read it to you. I'm going to take poetic liberty. I call it, like, it's poetic license, but I'm also going to call it poetic liberty. And I'm going to read it by also infusing the words from my co-authors into what Dan had written in his book. So here's from his chapter that had that 1 John. Whoever claims to live in him must live as Jesus did. This is Dan. It was my junior year of basketball. The stage was set. The season began, and the expectation of a great season was high. My teammates and I came into the season with the expectation of simply wanting to play together, have fun doing it, and optimally winning along the way. Our basketball coach wanted the same thing. Well, so it seemed, until our first 3 games of the season did not go according to plan. In our first game, our storybook season did not start with a win. In games 2 and 3, it did not get any better. Although my teammates and I enjoyed playing together, our chemistry did not show, and the results were evident. Our coach was not happy about our team losing. As a competitor, I could relate. However, he did not teach or show us how to make the proper adjustments to help us win. What made it worse is that he did not recognize how good our team's attitude was despite losing, as well as the fact that we were all trying our best. We just needed a coach who would not obfuscate, but believe in us and teach us how to play the game together well. Our record was 0-3 before we even blinked. And when the going got rough, our coach got going. He quit. Without notice, he gave up on our team. He let go of the ladder. Winning was everything to him. My teammates and I were disappointed, confused, and our storybook season looked hopeless. We needed a new coach, a new leader, and a person who would show us how to demonstrate how the game was meant to be played. In our third game of the season, our new coach just so happened to be in the bleachers cheering us on. Little did we all know that he was just warming up his voice. Sporty King coached in our basketball league for many years. Let me take a breath here and let you know that that was the first time I knew that he was using my name in his book. And I read it, and it caught my throat. Okay. Sporty King coached in our basketball league for many years prior and had recently retired from coaching to focus more on other ambitions and desires. But his departure was cut short when our team's vacancy became his opportunity. His longevity had built a reputation as highly respected, but most of all, his approach to the game and life matched exactly what our team needed. Though he was extremely knowledgeable and gifted at coaching the game of basketball, his greatest gift was how he taught life lessons inside the lines of a hardwood floor. He observed firsthand our need for a coach and a leader, and he seized the opportunity. Sporty graciously and confidently stepped into the role. And what appeared to be a disappointing and hopeless season became one of the most lambent years of my life. When Sporty King, known by me as Coach King, stepped onto the floor and introduced himself as my new basketball coach, he became more than a qualified replacement. He became my mentor. His words were eloquent. His approach was gentle. His attitude was infectious, and his example was just what our team needed. It did not take long to follow his lead. One of the many lessons he taught me and my team was how to best approach shooting free throws. He taught us how to establish a healthy rhythm and routine. This lesson not only changed my approach to shooting free throws, but it also changed my outlook and perspective on many aspects of life. 3 words that will ever and forever be etched in my mind. Sporty would say to us, take the picture. Coach King instructed us to envision how we shot the ball and see the ball go through the basket by taking the picture. See it before you execute it. And this is aside from what he wrote, I used to say to them, hold the pose. Your job as the free throw shooter is not to get the rebound. It's to make the ball go in. And your follow through is the key. So just take the picture while you're at the free throw line. And I used to crack up laughing because whenever somebody would get on the free throw line in the game, everybody from the bench, take the picture, take the picture. Now, I didn't teach him. I chose to use this picture. This is the game where Michael Jordan closed his eyes and shot the free throw because he was making fun. I think he was playing the Detroit Pistons, but take the picture. So back to the book. Okay, and I'll restart that sentence. Coach King instructed us to envision how we shot the ball and see the ball go through the basket by taking the picture. See it before you execute it. He explained it as looking at a basketball card with the player who is in the perfect shooting motion. You see, the picture captures the moment. It is simple, yet powerful. Elementary, yet genius. Genius, and an illustration that gave me a tangible example to follow. I will never forget that. But how does it relate to our spiritual growth? Picture this, pun intended. This is still him writing. Someone who prayed to God every day. Someone who loved others who did not look like him or even vote like him. Someone who served people without expecting anything in return. someone who gave his life no matter the cost and who sacrificed everything. That is someone I want to live like. Jesus took the picture. The Bible captures moments in Jesus' life that we are to follow. Whoever claims to live in him must live as Jesus did. It is more than stepping up to the free throw line. It is when we step up to the lifeline. It is time to focus. It is time to frame it up. It is time to take the picture. It is time to choose the omnipotent Jesus over everything. When I posted the meme and the message, there's my buddy Dan. I call him Sip, and you'll hear me call him Sip throughout my message today. But see how that message works for us. See, when I posted the meme and the message on Monday, I had not read Sip's chapter yet. And one of the first things that came to my mind as I read it was, look at God. No wonder he put it on my heart to post about the book. And so let me look at Lorenzo's statement. We connect by text, call, sameness, and God's connected grace, joying in our mutuality, striking, opposed, and hilarious. Because like I say, sometimes the stuff y'all put in the thread is coming through in my message, and that's the synchronicity. Because the first thing I said, look at God. No wonder he put him on my heart to post about the book, just like our broadcast. Meanwhile, I relived all the moments he mentioned in the book and gave thanks to God for allowing me to be here to smell these flowers that Sip shared. Yes, it choked me up, and I laughed and sat still for a few minutes, enjoying and appreciating the tears that welled up in my eyes and throat. And get ready, Lorenzo. And I decided I needed to call rather than text him my thanks. See, Lorette, I tell you, we are always so much on key. Yeah, we connect by text, call, sameness, and God's connected grace. Yeah, and I said, you know what? I need to call Sip to say thank you. And so where was I? And I need to call rather than text him and say thanks. When I called him, we had a great time on the phone. Okay. We had a great time on the phone as I told him how he had blessed me into today's glue message and that I'd figure out how to deliver it. I didn't get to tell him about the poetic liberty that I take with his words, yet I know they did not subtract from his message. And if you want to read it without the co-author's words, you can also buy it on Amazon. But I told him that I had 3 working titles before I made the broadcast. One was Soak Up the Flowers, and the other was Acknowledge the Flowers. And what I chose, Be the Picture. We both really like that title, and it means a lot to us to show this picture in particular. This is me, Dan, and Ernest Bullock. Ernest Bullock would coach Dan during his freshman year in high school in 1995. Dan became his assistant coach in 1999 and would later be coaching Ernest's daughter after Ernest passed away. This is the picture of legacy. In it, we're wearing jerseys from the league's first ever All-Star game. Ernest and I co-coached, and I think maybe 2 years later, the game would be named after Ernest. Meanwhile, one part of the story that Dan did not share in the book, either because he didn't know it or he didn't have time to tell it, is that day that he was talking about where his team was 0-3, and the coach left. The coach left at halftime. By the way, the coach was a young guy, you know, who he was a young guy, I think in his late teens or maybe his early 20s, and he was coaching at that time. The team was I think it was an 8th grade team at the time, Dan. I'm not sure. I think it was no, because I had already left. So it was a high school team. I didn't coach my first year in high school. Whatever. And anyway, the coach left at halftime. Okay. And so what Dan doesn't realize that I was sitting next to one of the parents who became a friend, and he was actually the first one to suggest to me that I get out of the stands and come out of retirement and coach the team because his son was on it. Dan was on the team with Dan. So I want to send flowers to Art Bilski. His wife Judy would say a memorable thing to me at Dan's wedding. She said, "Thanks for being smart when we thought they were not." So this is the picture of trust. And let me take a breath and go back actually a couple of slides, because what I want to do is talk to you about something I didn't mention, why I was talking to Dan about these as my possible headings. Because I felt so blessed. You know, they say give people their flowers while they can smell them. I felt so blessed that Dan had given me my flowers. And that's why I decided to do the broadcast, because see, don't hide the flowers when someone gives them to you. I know a lot of times we're going to go into the humble mood, blah, blah, and that's nice. And believe me, it did humble me. But now share the flowers. Soak up the flowers that someone else has given you. I looked at all of the words that he said about my coaching style, the eloquence, the simplicity, the need, and how I did. You know, soak up the flowers when people compliment you, and then acknowledge the flowers. That's what I'm doing with the broadcast, is I'm acknowledging the flowers. And that goes also to what Lorenzo said, and let me put that back up there. We connect by all these different ways. And that's acknowledging the flowers. Sometimes it just takes a text, like I saying a happy birthday, but sometimes it takes a call. But acknowledge the flowers. And then what I decided on, be the picture. He said, "Oh, I like that," because it was a feed off of, I knew take the picture. You know, but I used to always say that to him, but be the picture. See, it's more than just taking the picture. You know, and it's funny, he had one of my lines in there. Don't practice what you preach what you practice. And we're going to come up to something else that really reinforces why I chose be the picture as my title again. But that's important, is that you have to make sure you want to be the picture of who you're asking. Soak up the flora and the foreign, and fauna, and I guess those are words for flower. So, you know, Lorenzo is our resident Stephen A, you know, with the vocabulary. Okay. So yeah, but soak up the flowers. And then I talked to you about Ernest, and you know what I like, and see, once you take the picture and you become the picture, one thing I like, and I remembered about this picture, we won that game. It was the first all-star game that they played in the high school level in Bolingbrook Community League basketball at all. And we won in overtime. And it was so cool because as a coach, I felt great, because the reason we won, or one of the reasons we won, is because the kid who I had take the shot was not somebody that the other team thought would take the shot. Because I actually, I didn't have Dan or one of my kids who I had been used to coaching, because obviously the other team's defense, okay, he's gonna pick the guys who he's coached before, and he's going to use them. No, I picked the kid who was on a team that I did not coach. But this was the all-star game. They were all good. Each team put 3 players in. We had 6 teams, and each team put 3 players onto the all-star roster. Okay. So that I was so proud of myself as a coach to call the play for this kid to take the shot, and he made it. And see, again, this is when you're being the picture of who you are. These are the things that a picture will bring to you. So that's one of the things that I really loved about this picture as well as Ernest. Just reminds me of one time, you know, Dan, I don't know, you might have noticed, but one time Ernest was running late for a game, but he also had to drop some papers off at a different gym, and he jumped out of his car to drop the papers off, and ran in to drop him off, and he left his car running, but the door locked. And so I happened to be there at the same time as him, and he was like, "Oh, what am I going to do?" And I said, "Take my car and go to your game. I'm good at breaking into cars." And I did. I broke into his car and picked the lock, from the outside, putting the hanger in, and then I drove his car over to the gym where he was so he could pick his car. But again, this is what all these things come to. What you say, pictures remind us of time and experience that moves us, right? And so this is an important picture to Dan. That's why we agreed I would put it in, because we are the two coaches that he played for. And he went on to follow in our footsteps. And that's why I said this is the picture of legacy, because Dan would end up coaching Ernest's daughter, and then Dan would end up becoming a coach as well, and then end up coaching his son and everything. So it's just great. Pictures become a part of legacy. And I already mentioned to you this, Art, who was the one who said to me, you need to get out there and coach. And Judy, we were at Dan's wedding when she said, thanks for being smart, when they thought we were not, because I coached all their kids and they could talk to me. And the parents knew that I was teaching them lessons that the parents wanted them to learn. So this is the picture of trust. Next, I want to give, so that's why, by the way, that's why I was giving out flowers now. So the next flowers I want to give out are the two who supported my coaching their son, Dan, Rob and Lori Cyprian. And I say, this is the picture of parenting. Bob, what I call him, Ron, Bob and Lori Cyprian. Bob, rest in peace, was just a wonderfully fun guy. And, we kept in touch. I kept in touch with all the family members. Lori has been overcoming some sicknesses in the hospital, but she's doing well. And so keep our prayers up for her as well. But this I call the picture of parenting. And I also want to thank God for allowing me to show one more picture where I get the opportunity to throw some more flowers, and this time at the feet of my assistant coach for 8 years. We called her Coachette, Gail Grasky. We called her Coachette, okay? And you don't know how deep I had to dig to just find a picture of her. Of course, she doesn't have any solo pictures, yet I call this my first family of coaching. To her left is her son, Court, who I coached him in the 8th grade. That's when I met her. During the season, she became my scorekeeper and my statistic keeper. And then after the season, she and her husband, Fred, to her right, informed the league that they would continue to be team sponsors through their veterinary clinic. Animals, not veterans, veterinary. They would continue to be sponsors of the league, of the team that I coached. And then we named Gail my assistant coach to guarantee that Court would be on my team. So Dan would know, and some of our BCP players, Bolingbrook Community Basketball, that kind of started like free agency started in baseball and sports. Then teams started, coaches would get together with another because your coach automatically got their son. And then, sponsors start picking who they wanted to, which team they wanted to coach, which was not any kind of bad thing, by the way, because the sponsors were normally the same sponsors every year, but it was great that they wanted to coach a certain team. And that became one of the things that we started as well. Legacy, okay? But where was I? So I would leave. Oh, this is the key, okay? During our 8 years together, I had to be out of town 3 different times. And I would leave her a coaching substitution pattern. She followed it almost to the T the first time and comfortably altered it the following 2 times. Her coaching record ended up being 3-0. She never lost. All right, Coachette. And his older brother, Ian, on the father's right, would later ask me to coach his 3-on-3 team in Chicago's annual 3-man tournament. So this is the picture and the flowers of my first family of coaching. So those are some flowers. So what did Lorenzo say? Lock picker as in smooth criminal. Okay. Picture in mind. Okay, you're gonna. And that might have been something I said. Lock picker. When I broke into Ernest's car. Yeah, I was a smooth criminal, right? And then prayers lifted to Lori. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And then, so those are some flowers I want to throw. But I also want to throw some flowers to my co-authors. though I couldn't find a picture of Mary. Thank you all. Cassandra is one of my mentees, and she's still in Chicago. Ramona, that's my editor who catches all the words. I usually send her stuff on email. Haas, that's Jose. That's my childhood friend. We grew up together. Daphne down in the corner is in Chicago, but I met her here online. Lorenzo is in Chicago, but I met him here online. Rogercarole, I met in Chicago, but now she's here in Charlotte. So thank you to my co-authors. And you see your names. And Bruce Brown just came on. A lot of times he's one of my co-authors as well. So I would have his picture up there as well. I just thought of this though. But yeah, that's the key, is that I want you to know that each co-author and memory shared today helps me be the picture. And each of you watching contribute as well. Please remember to think about who and how important you are as a testament to your value in taking the picture. Because something else Sip said in his book caught my eye, and I decided to use it as what I call a closing scripture. And that is, the son can do nothing by himself. He can do only what he sees his father doing, because whatever the father does, the son also does. John 5:19. But Sip had also written in that was a different chapter, and he wrote, our children may not listen to everything we tell them, but they hear everything we say. Our children may not always be with us, but they are watching our every move. Ladies and gentlemen, be the picture. And meanwhile, if you'd like to be a co-author of next week's message, put the words in the thread that begin with the letter V from the word love, but only one word. And if you're receiving it through my email list, you can send me words by return email. And I hope I gave you the right letter, that it's going to be V for everybody. All right. But thanks for joining me through another storm for another great week of glue moments and reminders that God's love undoes everything. Not that he will tear things apart, but that what others have torn apart, God will never leave you alone as he helps you put it back together. Not hump, but find ways to keep it together. So whatever you do, however you do, be sure that you know what we do every week here on Glue Wednesday, where we remind everyone that, and we show that God's love undoes everything. So, and Lorenzo said, thank you. That's acknowledging the flower. Thank you. You are certainly welcome. I never liked struggling, but I grew up from the struggle. I never liked haters, but I grew into being loving. Your journey is your rise. Thank you. Yes. And that's the key. We've got to remember that as our legacy is, so much of it is born through pain and struggle. But that's why we get testimony. And all of us have to see the value in our testimony. So words beginning with V, vivacious. Vivacious, which I believe is active and full of life. Vivacious, because vive la France, viva is live. So that will be in our broadcast next week. Words beginning with the letter V. Even if you're on the video, put a word in there. No problem. I try to get my message started on Sunday and Monday and finished by Tuesday to get it to you on Wednesday. Vicarious. I believe. Don't tell me, Lorenzo, because you know I got to do my work. But vicarious, I believe it's talkative. I know it's an action word, but vicarious. So maybe that's what it means, or being full of spirit. Vicarious. No, I'm pretty sure it means loquacious is talkative. So vicarious, having a vicarious spirit. I think it might be one that you're attached to, but we'll find out next week, won't we? But that's and it's so funny. One time, Daphne put a word in a thread, and I thought it was in my vocabulary. So and I ended up being the wrong word, meaning. Then when I came next week and put the meaning, and I told her, and I admitted that I didn't know it. See, that's the thing. I like to tell people, I don't travel with my pride. Your pride can slow you down. I admitted that I didn't know. See, that's the key as a leader. Let your team know something. Hey, I didn't know this. Thank you for telling me. And as it turned out, Daphne didn't know the word either. She didn't know the full meaning. She just knew the word that was in her vocabulary. Okay. Daphne is a boo. That's what our boos, right? What our co-authors, okay? So share your flowers, everybody. Smell your flowers, share your flowers, and then acknowledge your flowers. All of us deserve to be valued. And that's what love is all about. Let ourselves value everyone. So thank you for joining me. I'm going to now post the video. Hey, even though this at the end, I'll remember to do this next time. But hey, LinkedIn and YouTube, I'll remember to put the hellos at the beginning, since I'm going to be posting the video to the other mediums that I'll use. But I'm going to give it a 10-second countdown before I end the stream to see, because there's a delay and somebody else might put something in the thread. So 10, 9, see, that's what happens. Okay, we keep sharing words which lift our glue always. Amen. Always keep sharing the words that lift people up. I speak with the military, and I always tell families on a pre-deployment, as they're getting ready to separate from their loved ones, I tell them, don't watch the news as the last thing you watch before you go to sleep. Because when you sleep, you're in a meditative state, and the last thing that went in is what ruminates overnight. And so therefore, if you got to watch the news, make sure you watch some comedy or a TV show that you're engaged with, that you talk to the screen on. We say, oh, I knew it was him. Why did, do that. So you go to sleep with a positive thought on your mind. That really does make a difference. 8, 7, 6, 5. So sharing words is a great last word to have. 4, but it's something that somebody else puts in there will be great as well. 3, 2, and 1. God bless you all. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next month. Have a safe Halloween, by the way, for those who celebrate it. I do celebrate it, by the way, but it's so funny. There are fewer trick-or-treaters in my neighborhood. I've been here now 4 years. I have not gotten one trick-or-treater in 4 years. Wow. So I don't have to worry about buying the candy or getting cavities. Like, ain't I too old to get cavities? I digress, and I move forward. God bless you all. Stay safe and stay smart. Over and out. Ciao.